Thank you for joining another episode of The Contemplative Citizen. Please feel free to share this video with your friends and stream it live if you like. It's going to be a short video today. What we're going to do is share a letter that we sent to both the Freedom Convoy and the Peoples Convoy and relevant action items around what can be done. Also, I want to share with you a resource related to legislative activity. We hear on the live streams that people are organized in each of the 50 states. Well, let's talk about what we want our congressional members to act upon, what they're doing. Let me show you this. This is from GovTrack. Now, I'm not sure who manages this site, but it's part of the U.S. government. I think it's the Library of Congress, but you can find it at govtrack.us. And what it does is it allows you to track legislative activities. Now, you have tracking options, but let's not worry about it. And if you like, the Contemplative Citizen is willing to help with tracking certain legislative initiatives. Just write us at the email that you see in the scrolling bar here, tcc@knvr.net. But what I want to show you is this is next week's legislative activity, or actually what happened this week. And you'll see that this House Resolution 6867, what happened when it was introduced, which is today, and it will be up for consideration March 2nd, 2022. So you can begin to organize and talk to your representatives and your senators about how you would like them to act on a certain bill. Now, this doesn't mean you have to take up the initiative to scroll this website and find what, and take action on everything that's happening. But what I can say is that the Emergency Act is not up for consideration next week. It wasn't talked about this week on the floor. This is what has happened last week, and it also, if you begin to schedule it out, you can see what's upcoming and what they're talking about next week and what bills they'll be voting on at certain pieces. I want to also point out here, I think it's, right here's one. A House Resolution 4738, the COVID-19 American History Project Act. Doesn't tell you much from the title. You have to click on it and read the abstract. The abstract summarizes on the first page what the bill contains. Now, in this case, and the reason I bring it up is you will hear things like House resolutions. Well, this was introduced back in July 28, 2021, so a very long time ago, but it's introduced again on the legislative agenda. Why? Because it's going to the committees, the House and the Senate committees as a whole, to look at this legislative initiative and begin editing it. This is your chance for effectively a line item veto. So if you see something like this, and we don't know, maybe COVID-19 might be a keyword for you, but there might be something in that bill that we have to pay attention to that's directly related to our calls of action. But we need to look at what's in the bill and talk to our representatives about how we would like them to act on that bill or amend to that bill, or make sure that something's, it's not our job necessarily. It's our job to hold them accountable, but we can give them guidance of what should not be in that bill and make sure that that's like vaccine mandates, not in that bill. The mask mandates are not in that bill. That border restrictions, additional border restrictions are not in that bill for truckers that go back and forth across the border, or provisions for healthcare workers, whatever the cause may be. So that's a resource for you. Now, we don't have much time here, so let me move quickly over to the letter that we sent to the truckers. You can see it here. It was originally sent out to February 24, 2022, but we've passed it around to different folks. It was originally written for the Freedom Convoy in Canada, but the action items and the agenda associated with this is directly related to what you are doing with the Peoples Convoy and what the individual organizers are doing in each of the 50 states. What we set out to do was help build the political will to temper or reduce government overreach. That was our goal. In this, we provided some operative questions, like, just thoughts that we'd like people to consider. For example, one might, the operative question before us is whether or not additional government powers can actually cure government overreach. Likely not, right? Why would government suspend its own powers? But that's exactly what we're asking them to do. And, what are we going to do about that? That's what you're working on now. And what we did was propose a few actions. What we like, what we heard so far, is that you are embracing what we called flash convoys. And you have had organized convoys, but a risk when you organize a convoy is that they know where you're going to be and what actions you're going to take. Almost like an organized parade. It's almost like a permit, asking for permission. Well, since you're on a public highway and you're licensed, you can't do much about it so long as you obey all the regulations. But you do see that they can block exits and begin limiting traffic flow, etc., etc. So what we talked about, again, this was back in February, that we should embrace flash convoys where people self-organize, sort of like follow the leader. A truck drives off, announces to a few friends that, hey, I'm off to start a convoy. Give me a follow if you're almost like we do on YouTube, right? Give me a follow. And if you see them on the road, you just kind of get in line and follow along. And you do so for every, say 25 to 50 miles. And then you kind of splinter and let somebody else take the lead and guide. That way nobody is organizing. Nobody knows exactly where it's going, but you do have a long trail of vehicles that are carrying your message that people can see. And this should be on the highways as well as the local roads. And maybe you pick a town or a destination or an exit number that you're going to kind of exit and allow somebody else to take over. But those are all kind of done in real time over CD, right? The other thing you can do, and we heard a lot about this today, was self-organized parades. Now, you didn't call it self-organized parades, but it's people walking around the city, carrying flags, message boards, etc. But like the convoys, parades are governed by local bylaws, namely you can't step off the sidewalk, you can't block an intersection, etc., etc. And so if you do that, you get ticketed, which is what happened, I think it was last night or today. But if they get enough tickets or write enough tickets, that's evidence for politicians to enact controls. And so you don't want that to be happening. And what we've learned over the years, and we've been involved in this and these types of activities in the past, is that one easy way to get around this, you don't need a permit or any direction if you are simply walking down the sidewalk. So what we called for with self-organized parades was basically persons. It doesn't matter whether the numbers are large and small, but you generally walk on half the sidewalk, so you're not blocking people from using the sidewalk. But what will happen is you get about 2 to 4 people in width on a sidewalk, and you can have a long line of people behind you as opposed to walking in clumps. What that does is it gives you much more real estate. Say 5 blocks instead of everybody crunched into say 2 blocks, whereby people driving by or businesses that you're passing get a chance to interact with you, to engage with you, to read your messages, to walk out of their store and talk to somebody involved in these, I'll just call them parades. But when you come to crosswalks and corners, you have to stop, you cross and obey the lights, and you don't block storefronts or doors, because that will cause other problems. And respect people driving along the roadways, even if they're shouting out the window. Just let it go. Your goal there is to engage with people and answer questions about why you're taking this action. And people will respond to that just much like they do with your stream. But again, by obeying these bylaws, it keeps the cities, the municipalities from writing these obscure offenses, people getting ticketed, having financial obligations associated with it. But more importantly, you're not allowing the municipality to document how you've been unlawful and breaking things and interrupting the normal flow of business, because that's when they begin to shut you down and how they shut you down. So these self-organized parades are very important for pedestrian traffic. Same thing with the flash convoys. Obey the speed limits. You're not organized, so people don't know exactly where you're going. You change out leaders. No one's really responsible. People are just driving at their own will. Now, item number 4 you see here is that we need to propose legislative policy for all levels of government. Now, that doesn't mean we have to author something, although that's what the contemplative citizen helps people do. But you need to talk about what you do not want, elements you do not want in legislation, and what you would like to see in legislation. Like, for example, stiffer penalties for extended use of emergency powers. Maybe it becomes a criminal offense for politicians enacting that inappropriately. But I guess the point here, and why I gave you the resource of GovTrack, is you really need to talk directly to the person you're going to see. So you need to do a little research. You need to know who is supporting them. And I can give you another resource in the next video that helps you show who's funded or supported the campaigns of certain politicians, what actions they've taken on bills in the past, where they're likely to vote in the future, and then you can go demand a response to what actions they're going to take. And 5th, we said you need to leverage all citizen-led initiatives. We've seen the impact of citizen journalists. Those were people writing originally. And then there were photojournalists just taking pictures at different events. Now there are live streamers everywhere. And we see the impact that's having. It's amazing. And we saw the power of one citizen candidate who made it into the presidential, into the White House, and the power of citizen candidates simply to change the conversation around local elections. But there are also other citizen-led initiatives, like the Contemplative Citizen, whereby we support citizen-led citizens moving into office for the first time, helping organizations craft narratives around policy initiatives that are both on the floor and under consideration, and helping folks gain the support of their representatives as that representative seeks to sponsor a bill that's moving forward. So lots of resources out there. Happy to talk with folks. You have our contact information here. I hope this short video was helpful, and we look forward to engaging with you in the very near future. Thank you again for the People's Convoy and the Freedom Convoy out there. You're fighting for freedoms, an honorable but challenging task, and I love the persistence we're seeing and wish you all the best. Be safe, be merry, and may God bless.